Now, Nick Rekieta did wish to be here live, folks. However, we knew he was going to be streaming tonight. He's, been doing like 8 hours. So we talked to him earlier in the day. We have an interview with Nick Rekieta. We're going to play it for you guys now. And this is a very exciting show. I hope you guys all support it. Make sure to donate. Make sure to smash that like button. Be sure to hit subscribe if it's your first time here. Brother Worski, do you have the Rekieta interview?
I do. I do. And to anyone who's upset about him not being here live, he's heading through some legal troubles right now. And he literally had no minutes in the day. But we were able to steal him for a little bit. And boy, is this one a doozy. So everyone strap in, because here we go.
Go, guys. No, Ralph! It's muted? Hold on. I think that's you guys. Ugh. Gross. There you go. That's whew.
Alrighty, Mr. Rekieta Esquire, sir, welcome to the Kino Casino. Before we start off, I just want to humbly apologize to you, Mr. Rekieta, on bended knee. I was wrong all this time about the grift, sir. It's all about getting paid. It's the principles. It's about the profits. Let me tell you, and we're gonna stack it up tonight. You are the true undisputed master of the grift on YouTube. Please, Mr. Rekieta, give us a plug right now. Let them know to donate to make Ethan Ralph cry. Mr. Rekieta.
Well, guys, I did hear about your show and your initial success, and I wish you nothing but success in the grift in the future. To everybody out there, I'm not here live. I apologize, but I am here to say I support the grift that everybody is doing. I hope you guys have nothing but a growing show that people get to enjoy going well into the future, into your ripe old dead ages.
I think the only person that we should not support the grift is Ethan Oliver Ralph. That guy, he's a piece of shit. We're all here to say, to dab on him, Ralph, because he's burned all of us here,
Look, I think the biggest enemy of his grift is himself. That's the truth. I don't know that he needs anyone else's help to go after his grift. He's a guy who makes a habit of burning bridges with friends and with fans, and that is just, I don't get it. That's his move, and if that's his power play, that's what he wants to do. Go for it, buddy. All yours.
Oh, Mr. Rekieta Esquire, sir, would you tell us how Mr. Ethan Oliver Ralph burned the bridge with you? How did it come to the point where he decided, you know what, this guy who's one of the most successful channels on YouTube right now, bringing in 10, sometimes 20,000 live viewers during these trials, bringing in huge amounts of donations, huge fan base. How did he decide it was a smart business decision to burn you and tell you to go fuck yourself? How did this come to be?
I'm sure it was something very serious. I'm sure it was like you heard him, you maybe hit him with your car, made fun of his family. It was very serious, wasn't it?
It was actually that son of a Augie. It's his fault. He recorded the shard heard round the world, and someone brought it up to me in a super chat. So I have not I shockingly do not religiously follow and watch Ethan Ralph. I don't have time to search his name as much as he does, so I have no idea what's going on. Someone blindsides me with a super chat. By the way, did you see that Ralph farted on his 24-hour stream? Here's the video. And so I watch it, and I give a pretty neutral reaction, right? It's really simple because I've done a 24-hour stream, and you're going to rip some bangers, man, because you're eating fast food that someone brings you or whatever. You're sitting there forever, and you're going to bust one out. So I just kind of make a face because it's like, I mean, it's loud enough for the mic to pick it up. Probably felt good, but it's a little gross. You know, you're marinating for a bit. And that was it. And then I gave, you know, a nice little friendly disclaimer. Hey, man, it's going to happen. I'm probably farted 4 or 5 times on the stream. I did. Not a big deal. That tipped him into oblivion for me. And the hellfire that came down from Ralph over that very mild, not even a jab, but that very mild review of his moment was insane. And I'm sure you guys have seen his rant about shitting all over himself.
Yeah, he's all shit all over myself. Well, you think I won't shit my pants for money? And then he goes on and he like threatens to get you disbarred. He's like, he talked to PPP about my case. He was my lawyer. And he talked to PPP. Do you remember he's like threatening to get you disbarred? Yeah. What did you think of that? Did you just laugh?
Well, yeah, I laughed. And, you know, I've talked about this a couple times. Let me put a disclaimer out there. The only things I'll talk about that Ralph and I discussed are the things that he made public. I never even mentioned that Ralph asked me anything because I figured in light of his situation where he was accused of spreading revenge against his ex, that if I disclosed to you, for example, on that live show, that I couldn't talk about it because Ralph consulted me, that might lead people towards a negative inference about Ralph. And so I just kind of stonewalled you on the discussion. I said, you know, I truly don't know what happened, and left it at that. And that's the deal. I cannot talk about what Ralph and I talked about because I have an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
So with that,
stonewall enough. You didn't do enough for him.
And I honestly don't know what I could have done more, because if I would have come out and said, hey, Ralph asked me about this, so I'm not going to talk about it, that would have maybe looked like he was looking for something people could draw negative inference. So I took the heat. I took the blame. I got called a gunt guard and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. That's the ropes of being a lawyer, right? Sometimes you defend someone and other people don't like them, and they're gonna get heated on you or whatever. That's it. That's the burden you carry, and I was fine with it, absolutely fine. But for him to go off on that as if I should have taken a different approach just spoke to me of absolute short-sightedness on his part, because had he thought through it, or if, you know, he maybe DM'd me and asked, hey, why'd you act like this with PPP? Because remember, this is a year ago.
Yeah.
A year prior to this. And he never said a word to me about that.
Well,
and I would have clearly explained, oh, by the way, yeah, here's why I addressed it that way. And that would have been that, but he never did.
Well, here's the thing is, it's funny that we're talking about this right now as if this was the problem, right? Because it wasn't the problem. The problem was the shark video that triggered him. Now, you and I have the exact same story. I stayed at Ashton's house for a week. We made videos. He didn't say anything. He was fine. Oh, yeah, I'm good with it. Don't worry. I was like, are you sure, man? I'm good with it. And then one little thing triggers, 6 months ago, you hung out with Ashton. I'm like, what the f? He's bringing up that lawyer stuff like that matters at that moment. If it did, be a fucking man. I'm the Ralph male. I got bigger balls than anyone. I got my bigger dick than all you motherfuckers. But yet you hold things in for a year and then trigger it. And then a fart triggers it. So we have the exact same story. In fact, that's how I messaged you for this. You said on my tweet, story sounds familiar, Andy.
Well, I was just gonna say, it starts to become, I imagine, for you guys, intolerable when you have an associate of yours with Ralph, and, he gets to decide who you can associate with, and that's ultimately what it comes down to, is if you're, it's gonna bring on one of his enemies, and his enemy list increases every single week. There's a new enemy that you can't associate with. It starts to become very difficult to run a business where you're networking with other people online. And I think that for a lot of people on the Ralph Festival tonight, that's what's happened. They've realized it's like, well, I could have Ethan Ralph as a business associate, or I can have Augie, and I can have Flamenco, and I can have Rekieta, and I can have Warski, and I can have all these other people. So, Ralph, I'm sorry, because you've decided to make it verboten to associate with all these people, you're the one that's going to have to go. And, at the end of the day, it's not 2018, and Ralph's not the king of mountain. And, that's what's going on.
But I never gauged or thought about bringing someone on or not bringing someone on to my show because of what Ralph did. Like, when I had you on the show, PBB, I knowing obviously that would probably make Ralph mad, but I don't run my life based on someone else's thing. And in the same way, I don't care who anyone I know is going to bring on. Like if any of my online friends were to bring on some enemy of mine, I mean, go for it. What the hell does it do to me? It doesn't harm me in any way. So I hold that standard in the same way, because I just figure we're all adults and professional about some of this stuff. I mean, we use unprofessional language from time to time.
Yes.
We make jokes, but at the same time, it's like, this is, when you're making business networks, you make business networks, and you're not going to get along with everybody all the time. And who cares if your friend brings someone else on? Now, if they bring you on, the boat on you or something, maybe, but come on now.
Yeah, I think that's what this whole festival has been about. The Ralph Festival is just basically to be like, you piece of fat. No one likes you. You're rude. You're a horrible person. You've done the most obscene things. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, because we have an actual lawyer here with legal expertise,
I
was going to ask you what you think of what's going on with Ralph lately, his legal situation. I'm not sure if you're aware, he's pled no contest to the revenge charges in his case. I'm wondering, would there be any ramifications in that, in terms of him seeking custody of his child, or, potentially what he might have to pay in child support, or is that kind of irrelevant to those sort of proceedings, or do you have expertise in that?
Well, with the caveat that I do not practice family law in California or wherever they are. And I don't practice criminal law in Virginia, although I did an initial case review of the revenge stuff, gave my opinion. Facts changed a little bit after that. I didn't think they would prosecute it because at the time I did the video, I think they were still together and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Well, breakup occurs. Apparently the Vickers appear to have wanted to pursue the charges a little bit more. So the charges get reintroduced. He ultimately pleads no contest, which means I'm not saying I did it, but I'm not going to fight against it. So he gets found guilty. He gets a suspended sentence. And as long as he doesn't fuck up criminally for the next year, it's going to basically go away, that's a good deal to get. You want to get that kind of plea deal if you're in that type of situation. So kudos to that. It is still a guilty conviction at the end of the day. And so does it have impact on him? It probably doesn't have any impact on his custody case because it's not an offense against the child. And family courts try to make a distinction between offenses against the other parent and offenses against the child for, custody and stuff like that. It could have some minor impact. The judge could just be pissed off about what he did. But at the same time, generally parental rights aren't going to be impacted if you didn't harm the kid because the kid's not in danger. Now, Ralph has a lot of steps to go through before he gets any sort of parental right, in California. He's 3,000 miles away in Virginia. So like whatever some custody agreement is going to look like, whether a judge is going to be like, oh yeah, sure, you can have this kid for 6 months out of the year. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But the real risk that he has 2 pending violations of restraining orders. That those cases are outstanding, and now he has a conviction, and I think at least one of those pending restraining order charges might be related to Faith, and so now he's got a conviction against Faith, and how those interact, there could be some issues that brings up for him in that case. Now I don't know, and again, I haven't researched it, and it would depend on what the parties argue and what the state wants to pursue against him on that, but there are possible impacts there. But on the parenting stuff, I don't think so much.
I have one legal question for you, okay? So for him to own me, he decided to fly to Portugal, right? So
yes.
My retaliation, which by the way, I've been there 13 times, have fun, have an awesome time. For me to own him, I gave Faith, specifically Xander, $20 through PayPal, and she tweeted out, "Thank you. Andy Worski has given me has given $20 more than his own father, making him better than the actual father." Would this legally make me more of Xander's father than Ralph himself?
At this point, because as I understand it, Ralph has not made any claim to being the father legally, right? Because he has to make a show. I don't know. Again, I don't know specifically how they do that in California. In Minnesota, you either have to sign a recognition of parentage at, either at the time of birth or in some period of months after the birth, or you have to go to a court and petition for an adjudication of parentage. You have to get an adjudication of paternity, and that can be done with the mom's consent, with a paternity test, various different ways to do that. My understanding is that he hasn't done that yet. I don't know if there's something that's going on behind the scenes, but assuming my understanding is correct, yes, it makes you Xander's daddy.
There we go. Right now, a true lawyer, Ralph Felton.
Ralph,
so
I am the father.
Basically, from the legal analysis that Mr. Rekieta has provided, Andy's the real father. Mr. Vickers is kind of in Copesville. The revenge charge really isn't going to aid him too much on this conviction. Unfortunately for the Vickers family, Mr. Vickers is in Copesville, but potentially these, violations of the restraining order might be affected by that charge you're saying. What would the penalty possibly be if he's found guilty of these breaches of the restraining order? Is there any sort of redress on that for the Vickers, or is it like what would the possible penalty be?
It could really vary. I honestly don't know. I would assume that the violations would be misdemeanors. I don't think they would be felonies. Likely some sort of fine or penalty for Ralph. But if, for example, this other conviction adds some sort of aggravating factor, it could be more. There could be a potential short stay in jail or something like that. But I don't want to speculate too much because I honestly have no idea how that plays out.
Nobody seems to know. This is the thing. You see the pretend internet lawyers. They speculate. They say, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. So I wanted to get it from a real life Mr. Rekieta Esquire, what he thought on the case.
And we're going to ask everyone this. We're going to ask everyone this as part of the, the Ralph Festival. I had my downfall, building back up slowly. A lot of people have had their downfall and had redemption, right? It happens on the internet with a lot of people. Now, do you think that this is the end for Ethan Ralph? Or do you think that there's something he could do that would redeem him?
Ooh. I don't know what it would be. Look, here's the difference, right? Most people who have had their downfall or whatever that looks like, it tends to be a quick drop, right? You get a big hit, and then you build back up over time. Ralph has been slowly circling the fucking toilet drain for a while, right? It's just been this steady degradation, hit after hit after hit. That's one of the things that makes me the most worried about the guys, because it's not something where it's like, look, 48 hours, 72 hours, a couple weeks, you're going to be through this. It's been going on for such a long time, really, since the heel stream. It's been this slow plinking away at the support structure. And so you don't have the same pattern that other people have on the downfall. He's still falling, right? So until he actually
Bailey,
hits the bottom.
Was aim illegal?
No, I've talked about this a lot, right? Alex won that case.
Yeah.
He had it dismissed pre-trial. And the reason he had it dismissed pre-trial is because there were all sorts of factors that showed that you guys would, and particularly him, would have been in reasonable fear of imminent bodily harm. Now, had he pulled the trigger, we might have had a different issue, but thankfully it didn't come to that. But that was a wild thing. You guys took a lot of heat for it, and you mildly fair, right?
It was
sounded
nuts.
a little bit.
It was nuts. It was crazy. Stand up. I think you were the first person I phoned on the way back. I'm like, Nick.
No.
Yeah, I did. I'm like, Nick. He's like, what happened? I'm like,
you're in trouble.
I'm like, Nick, we just pulled a gun on someone. He's like, hang on, I'm waking up. I think you were like napping or you were sleeping. You're like, hang on, Andy. Wait, what did you do?
But no, it was that. Here's anybody who thinks that it wasn't justified, you just go like this. It was dismissed pre-trial on pre-trial motions, right? Like the defense attorney got the thing taken care of because the prosecutor couldn't bring the case. They couldn't prove, they couldn't even raise a probable cause issue that they could make these charges stick. So were you justified? By law, yeah, absolutely. Now, again, everybody gets to make fun of someone when they're in a situation. They sound a little bit silly, but on the legality, my initial review of it was, man, this sounds justified to me, and I'm glad that his attorney and the judge ultimately agreed.
One more from me, Nick, because I know you're a father, right? How many children do you have now?
5.
Whoa,
5 children.
buddy.
Wow, he's walking the walk, folks. 5 children. And look, Ethan Ralph now has his son Xander. Fantastic name, by the way. Great choice by
son.
Faith. And he has a second child coming, a daughter with Pantsu. What would you assess as Ralph's ability to be a father? Because the one child in California he's not going to see. But the other child, the daughter, is going to be with him every day. He's going to have to be dealing with a crying child, changing its diapers. Do you think that given Ralph's current circumstances, he's like equipped to be a father? Do you think he'll handle it well or no?
Well, I'll say this in a couple ways. I don't know that anybody's ever equipped to be a father until they become one, because a baby in the house has the potential to change you. So, actually, that's kind of a good answer to what we were talking about earlier. What could redeem Ralph? Maybe the baby's going to kick his into shape, but you have to meet that, right? You have to meet that, and whether he will is a test of time. With Xander, it's different. He's not in the house. But if Ralph actually nuts up and becomes an actual dad, and works to be a positive influence in his kid's life, then maybe he can do it. We won't really know. Let me follow that up though with some real advice, and this is the same advice I give to every new parent who says, "Hey, what's the best advice you can give me as a new parent?" And it's this. Put the baby down in the crib and walk away. When you get frustrated, when you're angry, when the kid's on your nerves, you haven't slept, you're tired, you got to be able to put the baby down in the crib and walk away. And that is something that I hope Ralph will learn very, very quickly, because it's, you see, that's the you see where parents get into a lot of trouble and kids get hurt, and it's they don't have any intention of hurting the kid, but they just lose their temper, lose their cool, they're stressed out, they're in a bad spot. It's the same story every single time, and that's what parents need to learn how to do. So I hope Ralph learns to put the baby down and walk away. Baby's going to be fine in a crib. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be relatively safe. Calm down. You can go back to the baby after you do that. If he can learn to do that with a baby, maybe he can learn to do that on the fucking internet too, and that would be a good thing for him.
I don't know, man.
You always have such an optimistic view of things.
That
Mr.
made me
Rekieta
more scared.
Esquire, sir.
That made me more terrified, actually.
Now, to transition away from Ralph a bit as we start to wrap things up here, I understand you're getting some sort of bullshit legal challenge from, like, what's it, the Law Network? Or what
Law Crime.
is this? Law and Crime Network. They're saying that you can't stream these events, and they're trying to take down your channel. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I got a cease and desist letter from them because sometimes I would use Law and Crime streams. What happens in these cases is, like, 4 or 5 media networks want to cover a trial, and a judge says, I don't need a bunch of reporters in my courtroom because that's bull. So they pick one by lottery. A lot, it might be Court TV or a local Fox affiliate, or it could be, in theory, Law and Crime, although I haven't actually seen their name picked personally. It may have happened, don't know. And they say, okay, so-and-so's cameras are going to be in the courtroom. And then that camera is going to feed out to a media room, and all of these media entities will share that feed and broadcast it however they want. So then it goes out as this pooled work. And this is how basically any major trial, even minor trials, are being covered right now. Because this all stems from that, the movie The Fugitive with Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Like he wasn't. That's based on a real case. And that guy he was convicted, but then he ended up getting his conviction overturned because part of the problem was they had so much media in the courtroom. They had like 7 or 8 news stations that the attorneys, as they're questioning witnesses, had to like step around and over cameramen who were like laying on the floor taking pictures of the witnesses and stuff like that. So that's why they've pared this down to just have one set of cameras, and then you news organizations, you share it and send it out. Well, if they're sharing it and sending it out, they have a real problem claiming copyright protection on this stuff. They're not doing anything to this footage. The judge actually tells them, you put the camera here, here, and here, and the camera can look at the judge, the attorneys, and the witnesses, and that's it. Because you can't show the juror. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, the cameras are going to stop when we go to breaks, or stop when the jury's not in the room, and then they'll resume when they're back. These people are just butthurt because some jackass in Minnesota, right? I way outperformed their multi-million-dollar corporate media network, and they're mad about it.
Well, you add entertainment value. That's the thing, is they're just like reporting it like very serious. You're like reporting it like an entertainment podcast with information as well. And these news corporations, they're boring as shit. You're just adding spice to it. You're adding a little spice. That's all it is.
In this particular one, they don't even have like commentary during the streams that like we were doing, right? They might do a follow-up show that has some analysis. I never watched any of that. I don't want their dumb opinions. I have my own dumb opinions. And that's what people are watching. And they're really just mad. In Rittenhouse, we peaked at over 130,000 live people. Amazing and job. They had at the same time, they had something like, I don't know, they were way lower, somewhere in the 10s to 20s.
Mr. Rekieta, do you have any final statements about Ralph? Any plugs to get in? Anything like that before you head off?
I'm not mad at Ethan Ralph. I'm just disappointed.
The cruelest. From the father of 5, Mr. Nick Rekieta, Esquire. Sir, we appreciate you. You're the greatest grifter of all time. Can you at least tell the audience to donate for us? Give us give us one plug.
Look, I never tell people to donate to my shows, ever. I hope they do. I love it when they do, but I never ask them to do so. But what I will always do is when I'm a guest on a show, I'll say, hey, guys, if you like what you're watching, pay for it. Open the wallet, drop a donation, help us out, because it's the support that comes from the audience that allows us to do things way bigger than our channels, way bigger than who we are. We don't have a corporate structure behind us. We don't have giant advertising sponsors and donations, and we get the pittance on YouTube, especially when guys are doing what these two are doing. When we're doing these live streams, you don't get good ad revenue. You don't get anything like that. It all comes from audience support. So if you love what's going on here, get out those dollars and show some love.
And more importantly, Ralph is probably watching this on his second monitor, and every dollar makes him see, then possibly turn off his stream, because we're streaming over his stream right now. So if you want that,
exactly. A master class in grifting from the
Rekieta, links down there, by the way, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on, and we hope to speak to you soon, brother.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks a bunch.
All right, peace out, man. Thank you.